Do you remember when the Moody Blues were forced to cancel their first American tour because they couldn't get work permits right at the peak of the British invasion? Today, we're diving into one of the most underrated bands in rock history and uncovering what happened to the Moody Blues. The Moody Blues began in Birmingham, England in 1964, right as British rock was exploding worldwide. But here's the part most people forget. They didn't start out dreaming of orchestras or concept albums. The original lineup featured Denny Laine on vocals and guitar, Mike Pinder on keyboards, Ray Thomas on flute and vocals, Graham Edge on drums, and Clint Warwick on bass. 5 young musicians chasing the same R&B dream as dozens of other British bands at the time. Their early sound was raw rhythm and blues, closer to the Animals than anything cosmic. In fact, if you'd seen them in those first months, you would never have guessed where this band was headed. During their first year together, alongside playing their own shows and cutting records, the Moodies, as fans, and even the band themselves called them, earned credibility the hard way, backing touring American blues legends in England, including Sonny Boy Williamson and Memphis Slim. Their breakthrough came fast. The debut single, Go Now, released in 1964, shot to number 1 in the UK and into the US top 10. Overnight, it looked like the Moody Blues had secured their place in the British invasion. But behind the scenes, cracks were already forming. Remember what I said about the canceled first American tour? In June 1965, just as momentum peaked, the Moodies were scheduled to tour America supporting the Kinks. It would have been a career-making opportunity if they hadn't been forced out at the last moment due to failed work permits. But 1965 would nevertheless end on a high note for them. They would be support acts for what would later be 2 of the biggest, most famous bands in rock history. This is what happened. In July 1965, they released their first album called The Magnificent Moodies and remained in high demand on the live circuit. They opened for the Rolling Stones on the Stones' autumn 1965 UK tour, alongside fellow Birmingham band, the Spencer Davis Group. Then came another surreal moment. In December 1965, the Moody Blues supported the Beatles on what would turn out to be the Beatles' final British tour. Now, the second half of the 60s would bring the Moody Blues a lot of trouble. You might remember what happened? A final single from that era, Life's Not Life, appeared in January 1967, but by then the original band was already falling apart. In July 1966, Clint Warwick walked away from both the group and the music business entirely. Attempts to replace him with Klaus Voormann, who chose Manfred Mann and John Entwistle of The Who, failed. Eventually, Rod Clark was brought in on bass, but the damage had been done. And then came the most dramatic blow. Denny Laine, the band's frontman and voice of their biggest hit, left the group. He would later find massive success with Paul McCartney's Wings. His exit could have ended everything. Instead, it triggered the most radical reinvention in the band's history. Justin Hayward arrived on guitar and vocals, John Lodge took over bass duties, and suddenly the Moody Blues weren't just replacing members. They were rewriting their future, on their way to their biggest hit. You know which song I'm talking about, right? Okay, back to story. This new lineup didn't simply change personnel, it changed identity. With Hayward and Lodge on board, the Moody Blues abandoned their R&B roots and aimed for something far riskier. They weren't interested in singles anymore. They wanted atmosphere, ideas, and meaning. The band transformed from a blues outfit into something almost impossible to categorize. They became explorers of sound, philosophy, and poetry. In 1967, they released Days of Future Past. It's a record that shouldn't have worked and almost didn't. This wasn't just another rock album. It was a full concept album, blending orchestral arrangements with rock instrumentation and pioneering use of the mellotron, an early keyboard sampler that Mike Pinder had helped popularize. Did you know that Pinder did not just play the mellotron? He had previously worked for the company that built it. People believe that this gave the Moody's a technical edge no other rock band had at the time.
It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind, so gently swaying through the fairyland.
From the Days of Future Past album came Nights in White Satin, a haunting, emotional anthem that would define the band. At first, the song barely made an impact. Then something strange happened. It came back again and again, eventually becoming a worldwide classic. In the US, Tuesday Afternoon charted earlier. It peaked at number 24 on the Billboard Hot 100 and quietly signaled that the gamble had paid off. This moment launched what fans now call the Core 7 albums, a remarkable creative streak that included In Search of the Lost Chord in 1968, On the Threshold of a Dream in 1969, To Our Children's Children's Children later that same year, A Question of Balance in the 1970, and Every Good Boy Deserves Favor in 1971. This era marked the band's creative peak. Albums became experiences. The opening track, Procession, traced the evolution of music itself, leading into Hayward's The Story in Your Eyes, which became a US single and reached number 23. In 1972, the Moody's released Seventh Sojourn with John Lodge's Isn't Life Strange and I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band, both climbing into the top 40 on both sides of the Atlantic. Each album blended spirituality, philosophy, and futuristic soundscapes. The Moody Blues weren't chasing trends, they were inviting listeners on sonic journeys. But even the most ambitious journeys come at a cost. By 1974, after relentless touring and recording, exhaustion set in. The band announced a hiatus, quietly stepping away at the height of their influence. Later that year, they supervised the compilation. This is the Moody Blues, which was released in October 1974. Many fans thought that was a farewell. During the break, solo projects flourished. For a time, Seventh Sojourn truly felt like the end. Hayward and Lodge reunited as a duo on Blue Jays in 1975, followed by the UK top 10 single Blue Guitar, backed by the band 10cc. Ray Thomas released 2 solo albums with songwriter Nicky James, From Mighty Oaks in 1975 and Hopes, Wishes, and Dreams in 1976. Also in 1976, Hayward recorded Forever Autumn for Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds, a song that introduced him to an entirely new audience. After a successful duo tour, both Hayward and Lodge released solo albums in 1977, Songwriter and Natural Avenue, respectively. It raised fresh doubts about the band's future. That same year, Caught Live Plus 5 arrived via Decca in the UK and London Records in the US. It was the first live album with a 1969 Royal Albert Hall performance and unreleased studio material. Then, in 1978, against expectations, the Moody Blues returned with Octave, an album that proved they still mattered even if the magic had shifted. The record sold well, producing US hits, Steppin' in a Slide Zone and Driftwood. But change followed quickly. Mike Pinder, a founding member and creative cornerstone, departed. His replacement was Patrick Moraz, formerly of Yes, signaling a new chapter. With Moraz, the band released Long Distance Voyager in 1981, one of their biggest commercial successes. Songs like The Voice and Gemini Dream fit seamlessly into early 80s radio, while Lodge's Talking Out of Turn reached number 65 in the US. The Moody Blues were no longer cosmic pioneers. They were veterans adapting to a synth-driven era. Albums continued through the 80s and 90s. The Present arrived in 1983. Less successful overall, but yielding hits with Blue World and Sitting at the Wheel. In 1986, The Other Side of Life brought a resurgence thanks to Your Wildest Dreams, a US top 10 hit and adult contemporary number 1. Sur la Mer followed in 1988 with I Know You're Out There, Somewhere, a nostalgic sequel that charted strongly worldwide. Though the sound leaned more pop, Justin Hayward's voice remained the band's emotional anchor. Keys of the Kingdom arrived in 1991 with modest success led by Say It With Love. Touring remained strong. Especially A Night at Red Rocks in 1992 became a PBS staple. A retrospective box set called Time Traveler followed in 1994. By the late 90s and early 2000s, recording slowed, but live shows flourished, often backed by full symphony orchestras echoing the band's earliest ambitions. In 2000, they released Hall of Fame, recorded at the Royal Albert Hall. Ray Thomas retired in 2002, passing away in 2018.
Then all the stars will shine around us.
The Christmas album called December appeared in 2003. Clint Warwick died in 2004. Lovely to See You. Life was released in 2005. And at the BBC 1967 to 1970 was released in 2007. The band's final tour ended in 2018. In the same year, they were finally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Far later than many critics and fans expected.
That's all I got left now. Apparently, I've got to talk a bit longer, like that guy over there. I did realize that it means the world to me. Thank you.
After 2018, the voices behind the Moody Blues began to fade. Graham Edge passed away in 2021. Denny Laine died in 2023. Mike Pinder in 2024. This year, Rod Clark died. And sadly, also John Lodge passed away in October this year, both at the age of 82. Today, Justin Hayward is the last surviving member of the classic Moody Blues lineup. His solo tour ended beginning of November this year. No new concert dates have been scheduled yet. So yeah, this ends the story about the Moody Blues. They never chased fame or scandal. They chased meaning and left behind a legacy that still resonates. What's your favorite memory of the Moody Blues? Let me know in the comments. I'd also like to hear which band I should feature next in my new What Happened To series.
'Cause I love you.